talk about economic stimulus as the answer to the problem, when people should lose patience with that and start throwing excrement.
Frithjof, a central point of your thinking is that growth is a concept of the past. We cannot afford this kind of growth, Wirtschaftswachstum, anymore. That was assumed to provide jobs. So without growth, is it a concept like the Green Party has for a long time? No. What is the difference to that?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the idea is very much, I'm all in favor of growth. I'm not against growth. But the idea, that if you create growth in Mercedes-Benz and in BMW and in Volkswagen, I mean, one rough way of saying that, and excuse when I use slightly rough language or rough metaphors, I mean, the idea is that to assume that jobs will be created by feeding the big corporations is a little bit like feeding an elephant green leaves and expecting him to shit bulbs. I mean electric bulbs. Electric bulbs will not come out of the behind of the elephant just because you feed him green stuff, namely dollars. So growth, yes, but growth for the 80% that at the moment live on the edge of some kind of poverty. 2 days ago, the Oscar was given to a movie, which if you look at it, you'll get some idea of what poverty in India looks like. And that is 80% of mankind. And to start to make a life possible for these 80% will require an enormous amount of growth, but not wasteful growth, growth with raising food in slums, with the sort of vertical gardens we already have. Creating electricity with Stirling engines, which use solar but in a much more intelligent way than photovoltaic cells. Creating buildings with the little eco bonds we have around. All of those things will have to grow and create enterprises, and many, many, many small enterprises. And that kind of growth is absolutely needed, but that kind of growth will be much less harmful to nature than the kind of growth we have allowed to happen in the past.
So we talk about growth in basic needs, in basic products. Can we understand it like that?
No.
If we did, yeah.
You don't mind?
Yes,
it's an open conversation.
Yes, of course.
No, you see, because I mean that too. If you think that the sort of people that you call sozial schwach, that is socially weak people, or people who live on the edge of poverty, if you think that you can buy them off by giving them old clothes or something like this, you have another thought coming. They make demands. If you give them some solar cooker, they will say, do you use this kind of solar cooker? And if then you say, no, I have a microwave, they will say, oh, I want a microwave. The people who are what I call the desert people, they will not live on subsistence. They want elegant things, they want things that have style, they want things that have quality, and that will, they will create the enterprises that will make products that will have style and quality and have capacity, but they will produce them out of materials. This, for example, is literally, believe it or not, this is 97% earth. Not precious sand, not clay or something like this, but just plain earth. And for example, creating, it's something that some people tease me about, that I'm very skeptical of what you call solar energy, because you identify solar energy with photovoltaic energy, and photovoltaic is expensive, is fragile, and can very easily be stolen. So it's not the best solution for Africa. So Stirling engines, which are also solar but use heat, are a much more intelligent solution to the energy problem in Africa.
So what you say is we need a different technology that the big companies would never think of applying. We need a technology that is fulfilling needs, that is elegant, that has style, BMW, by the way, has style, or most people believe that it is something you need to have if you are a rich person. The difference is in the technology, or is it in the products? What is exactly the difference to what the ordinary economy that we have in the past? What is the exact difference? Is it the quality of the product? Is it the materials? Is it the way of manufacturing?
Those three, for openness, yes. I mean, those three, not one of them, but all three, and then quite a number of other things. I mean, the difference is, let me put it into a big sort of picture. For thousands and thousands of years, people lived basically as farmers. 80% of humanity lived and worked on farms until fairly recently, until 100, 120 years ago, and in India they still do it. Now, that means that 80% of humanity has lost its work because people can no longer live off what they produce on a farm. So your idea, or what is here usually quoted, 3.4 million, is ridiculous, because, I mean, you're forgetting about all the other things that cause unemployment. We can talk about that. That was said too quickly, but to stay with your question. The point is that there are technologies, and they're not technologies, so let me be very careful about this, okay? It's not technologies that the big corporations don't want or can't use or something like this. It's the other way around. It's technologies that they cannot resist. You know that I know a little bit about China, and I've been there a few times. And the idea is that the Chinese government, and the Chinese government is a rough government, the Chinese government tried very hard to make it impossible for the internet to spread in China. Now, at this point, everybody in China can watch the internet and finds out an awful lot over the internet, including, by the way, very much about the most recent trends in music. And in Beijing, people dance to the most recent techno music, which partly has been created in Detroit, of which I'm quite proud. So the idea is that these are technologies that the big ones cannot resist. The Chinese government, which is not made up of soft children, tried to prevent the spread of the internet, but the internet spread anyway. In the same kind of way, they will probably try to prevent the spread of this, but there is earth all over the place, and the ingredients for this glue are very simple, so they will not be able to resist that. So the technologies are stronger than the representatives of the old system. So it's not that we expect them to lie down and accept this, it's that we will win. And we will win in entrepreneurial terms, because these things are technologically superior. Just like here in Germany, that isn't obvious yet, but in Detroit, it is absolute. Let me interject. I work very intensely in Detroit, and I'm in charge of the economic development of Highland Park, which is the central part of Detroit. In Detroit, every child has found out that American cars are not selling, and therefore all three, Ford and Chrysler and General Motors, are on the very verge of bankruptcy. They may go bankrupt in spite of what money they have been given by the end of March. That's perfectly possible. So it will become obvious that our concept of mobility is entrepreneurially superior, because it will sell and people will use it, and it is much more effective, and this is cheaper than a Cadillac.